At the top of the show, I wanted to know who was the president that Dr. Patrice Motsepe has replaced since 2021. Here to answer that question is a jewel in the continent's crown, an African football royalty, Christophe Bongo.
Thank you for inviting me. For that question, the answer is the former president of Madagascar Football Association, Hamed Hamed.
Hamed Hamed is the answer. I wonder if you got that right. Now, Christophe, let's talk about Patrice Motsepe. What is it that makes him more special than the previous presidents before him?
Well, Dr. Patrice Motsepe took the presidency of CAF when we needed African football to change its direction. And when he came in, elected, unopposed or unchallenged, it was a time where African football was not part of football conversation. And we needed that to happen, because once you become part of a conversation, everything else will happen. So at that moment, his job was to make African football to become part of conversation.
Now, I wanted to ask you about something interesting you mentioned, the fact that he was unopposed.
Yes.
Is this good for African football?
Yes, it proved to be good for African football. They had 8 candidates or 9 candidates the night before the election. And I think after speaking to all of them and showing them his vision of African football, in the morning of the elections, we had only Patrice Motsepe, Dr. Patrice Motsepe standing, and that way he got elected. So the question you asked me earlier on, let's go back to it just a little bit. When he became president, African football had problem with Lagardère, which was a company that CAF had contract with. That contract was abolished, was cancelled. CAF needed to pay a lot of money, and CAF needed to go to court. So that alone proved that we're having many other problems besides football itself. So he came in that time. He came in a time where African football was owned not by Africans.
Elaborate on that. That's interesting.
Well, every production for African football, CAF Champions League, CAF Confederation Cup, CAF qualifiers, and because qualifiers alone, we have more than 6 qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers, AFCON qualifiers, WAFCON qualifiers, Olympic game qualifiers, under 70s. So we had so many qualifiers, so many games, so many products coming from CAF that were not owned by Africans, which means you and many of us at home could not watch
it.
Games, which is African games.
So his 10-point plan since Rabat, Morocco in 2021, do you think he's implemented most of it, really?
I don't think. I know. Yes, he has implemented most of them. Let's start, because I know many people are going about finance. I'm not talking about finance. African football is now talked about almost all around the world. During his presidency, Africa reached the semi-final of the World Cup. You can say anything you want. It was during his presidency. Africa reached that.
I see also one of his mandates is to support Morocco for the 2030 World Cup.
He brought African World Cup again. People forgot that, but that is another mandate that he has done. And then we go to the conversation I'm talking about. I'm not talking about any conversation. I'm talking about money conversation. If you look at the number of brands that want to be associated with CAF, not those who are associated, those who want to be associated with CAF, is telling you that something is happening. We have now CAF school competition. We have women football in Africa, in the world that is getting bigger. CAF women football is big. During his presidency, we have African team reaching the second round, not one, like Nigeria used to do, but we had not only one, we had multiple reaching the second round.
So it seems like you agree with Comoros that he should run for a third term.
That's a political side, but I can see why Comoros, they would do something such of wishing for him to take his third term. But let's wait to see his second term. First term, 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10?
Yeah, because
that's the score you give
we still have the story of African Championship. That story, personally as a football lover, I'm not even hearing people talking about it, which means there is something that still needs to be fixed there. But majority, I would have voted for Dr. Patrice Motsepe to be the president of CAF again, because I am so proud of my continent football. I am so proud of the conversation that is going on.
So let's talk about your good friend Samuel Eto'o.
Yeah.
He was recently in hot water, and all of a sudden he scored with the Court of Arbitration for Sport. And now he's allowed to be part of the executive committee. What does he bring to the table?
Before talking about what he's bringing to the table, people did not understand why the Court of Arbitration allowed him to be part of this. Everything that he was accused of or was having, including being banned to go for football matches, it was on his personal level as you should not go. But they did not stop him to do his function as the president of FA. Only your function of FA that allows you to be part of CAF. So that was not touched. Therefore, he was allowed to be back to be as a candidate in the election, which of course he pulled out. Him being part of the executive committee and being a former footballer, personally for me, I think we are going to a right direction where we start seeing our footballers being involved in the decision-making of CAF. And that is a route for him to become the next Dr. Patrice Motsepe.
Oh, Christophe, so nice to have you on the FA show.
Thank you.
Do come around again. That was Christophe Bongo talking to us about Dr. Patrice Motsepe and just the beautiful things he's doing for African football. It's so exciting. In a couple of years, hey, watch out world, African football might just be dominating everything. While there is still so much work to be done, the progress made over the last few years in the beautiful game on the continent is a cause for celebration. Congratulations once again to Dr. Patrice Motsepe as you continue to modernize African football, improve its governance, pour more resources, and elevate the quality of our competitions. There is no doubt in our minds that the future of African football is in safe hands. Thanks once again to the legendary Christophe Bongo and S.C. Kadebe for your compelling insights. From me and the crew behind the scenes, Ninitanda Nonke Kakulu.